Bronny James. Should he be in the NBA? Should he not be in the NBA? Is he in there because his dad's there? I want to know what y'all think first before I watch this video. But this is the truth behind Bronny James playing in the NBA by Jimmy High Roller, who I respect a lot. So we're going to get straight to it. This should be very interesting because you know this guy's going to pull up stats, he's going to pull up data. Let's get straight to it, man. Bam.
With the 2024 NBA draft in the books, there is one major discussion that has dominated the NBA space over the last week. It isn't about the #1 overall pick. It isn't about the outlook of these teams going into next season. It's about a late second-round pick. And for good reason, because his name is LeBron James. And he's going to play in the NBA with LeBron James. It's a weird,
I can't get over how crazy that is to me. Playing with your son is so playing with your own son is so wild.
Circumstance that the NBA has never encountered before. A player who many fans consider to be the greatest of all time, playing in the NBA with his own son. A story.
Is LeBron the GOAT? Comment, let me know.
So strange, you'd think the NBA scriptwriters outsourced their work to ChatGPT, picked the most batshit result, and called it a day. But after 2 years of speculation, we now know with certainty that Bronny James will be an NBA player. And right on cue, the criticism of his merits and value as a future player in the NBA have already came pouring in. Scouts and GMs claiming Bronny as a prospect isn't even worth using a late second-round pick on, and that the real value lies in his last name and the leverage it comes with.
You gotta think. The NBA is still a business. They want to make money. And the Lakers, one of the richest franchises in the NBA. If you have LeBron and his son on the same team, do you know how much money that will make? Even if he's not ready to play in the league, which I think eventually he'll be fine. Right now he's not really great, but he'll be fine in the NBA. But even if he were to be the worst player in the world to get on the same team with his dad, people want to pay to watch that. The NBA is a business. Think about that.
But how valuable is a second-round pick, really? And is
Very
Bronny
valuable.
a legitimate NBA player, or is he only in conversation solely because of who his dad is?
I think eventually he will be a legit NBA player.
Bronny is #1 on my list.
Look at that.
I gotta be on the floor with Bronny.
This is Ken Griffey, former major leaguer and 3-time All-Star. This is Ken Griffey Jr., son of Ken Griffey. And in 1990, these two did one of the coolest things a father and son can possibly do. They played in the MLB together. And when I say together, I don't just mean they played in the MLB at the same time. They were on the same team. In fact, they weren't just on the same team, they shared the same outfield with each other. It's probably the rarest and most badass thing you'll ever see in sports. Making it to the big leagues is one thing, but playing in the big leagues next to your kid is a club exclusive to only these two. And if that wasn't incredible enough, on September 14th, 1990, the Griffeys pulled off some.
As a sport, baseball is a lot less demanding on your body. Careers can be longer, but NBA players, a lot more demanding. So LeBron being in the league for this long and being that good, he's not just a scrub in the league right now, not just some vet on the bench talking to people. He's still playing at a high level. And now he's playing with his son. So I think LeBron and his son playing on the same team is crazy.
Something that you will never see
basketball
again
is
in your lifetime.
Physically more demanding.
Inch back up there now. Well hit to center field. Devon White going back. Gone! A 2-run home run. And he hits one well to left center field. Dante Bichette. Back-to-back home run.
That's crazy.
The history of Major League Baseball. But they weren't the first father-son duo in professional sports. This is Gordie Howe, one of the greatest players to ever touch the ice. He won 4 Stanley Cups, 6 MVPs, held the NHL record for total career points at the time of his retirement, and is a member of the NHL's 100th anniversary team. Gordie had an incredible pro career as a hockey player, and yet out of all of his accomplishments, the coolest thing he ever did was this. This is Mark and Marty Howe, Gordie's sons, and he played professional hockey with them in both the WHA and the NHL for 5 seasons. Now, if you're thinking, that guy looks a little old to be playing professional sports, you're right. Gordie began his career in the NHL in 1946 when he was just 18 years old. By the time he retired for good, he was 51.
Oh my gosh!
A career that stretched from the 1940s to the 1980s.
Holy
And
nuts.
only with a career like this can a player even have a shot at playing in the league together with their son.
He played till he was 51. I wonder how good he was at 51, though. Like, come on.
Why exactly am I talking about home runs and Gordie Howe? Well, because they're awesome, but also because of these two and what they're about to accomplish in their own sport. LeBron and Bronny James, who are on
those the
track
only
to being
two
the
that done it?
first father
Hockey and
and son
baseball?
duo to play together in the NBA. An idea that seemed far-fetched when LeBron first mentioned it years ago,
Cannot believe
but
it.
has now become a reality. But how legitimate is Bronny's spot in the league? And is the backlash towards the Lakers selecting him with a second-round pick in the draft warranted? Well, to answer this question, we first need to know just how good Bronny is as a prospect and as an
he could
incoming
have gone
NBA.
undrafted too. So I see why some people are kind of upset. But, you know, with the last name James on his back, you're not going undrafted, bro. You're not. You want that draft.
Right
that
now,
draft moment.
NBADraft.net has Bronny rated at an 88 overall across their 12 prospect metrics. This overall rating puts Bronny on the lower end of all second-round picks and future prospects over the last 3 years,
Wow.
but well within range of your typical mid to late first rounder.
Okay.
Now, here are Bronny's numbers during his one season of
This is
college
stats I was
basketball.
talking about.
5 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists a game on 47, 30, 69% shooting splits. Now, these numbers, especially from a relatively undersized guard, do not scream NBA potential. But for perspective, here are the average collegiate stats from every late second-round pick that played college basketball over the last 5
now,
years.
remember,
And
he
even
did
when
have heart problems too, so keep that in mind.
compared to late second-round
had a
picks,
heart attack.
Bronny's numbers aren't nearly as impressive. In fact, Bronny is arguably the least productive college prospect in NBA history. Here is a list of every player in the entire history of the NBA to be selected in the first 2 rounds of the draft that averaged less
This is
than
why I like
5
High
points,
Roller, because he pulls up stats and data like this. I love his
3
channel. Y'all go
rebounds,
subscribe
and
if you
3
haven't
assists
already.
a game in college. And that's it. Just 3 players who were selected in the NBA draft with college numbers equal to or less than Bronny's college numbers.
Whoa.
Pair that with the fact that these
How
prospects
did this brother get in? He was averaging 0.8. What?
had at least the benefit of having NBA frames and physical tools
Bron
to
did
be
play 19
potentially
minutes a
built
game,
off
though.
of,
They played
and the
6
case for
and 1.
Bronny warranting a pick in the NBA draft becomes more and more difficult to make. But to really demonstrate exactly where Bronny falls amongst other second-round picks, here is a chart of every college basketball player selected in the second round of the draft over the last 10 years, with box plus minus on the x-axis and minutes per game on the y-axis. 298 selections
Where
spanning
does he get
10
these
drafts.
stats?
More than half of these players not even in the NBA today. Where's Bronny? He's right here. Most late draft picks, even the guys who go on to not even make a roster in the league, were first or maybe second options in their college program. Bronny, on the other hand, was an undersized rotational player on a sub-500 team. It doesn't take an NBA scout to know that Bronny James's collegiate career wasn't that of your typical second-round draft pick. But how good is the typical second-round pick? With the rise of second-round sleepers in recent history, most notably players like Nikola Jokic, Jalen Brunson, Herb Jones, and Jordan Clarkson, the potential value of
pick. That's insane.
a second-round pick in the NBA draft is about as high as it's ever been. With the help of advanced metrics, the curtain has been pulled back on the value even a solid role player can provide to a winning team. Prospect scouting has gotten more comprehensive than ever before, and these second-round picks have held considerable weight within recent trades around the NBA. But how valuable does that truly make them? Gathered from 10 years worth of draft classes from 2013 to 2022, data shows that, on average, out of the 30 players drafted in the second round, about 6 of them won't even suit up in the NBA.
Dang.
That's about 1 in every 5 players selected in the second round that will never see a minute of action in the league. Out of the 24 players who do make a roster in their rookie season, about 17 of them end up playing a second season in the NBA. Of those 17 players that are good enough to stick around for more than a few seasons, only about 8 of them will go on to be a role player or rotational level player. Go one step further, and on average, only 4 of these second round picks will become a starting
That is crazy. This is the last 10 years. Only 4 became starters. This is why I love high roller so much, man.
Caliber player in their career. That's about 1 in every 8 players selected in the second round. And finally, of the 298 players selected in the second round of the draft from 2013 to 2022, only 2 of them became All-Stars.
Whoa!
Nikola Jokic
Wow.
and Jalen Brunson. If we think about the last 10 years of second-round picks on a scale of box plus minus, with Nikola Jokic being on one end and the players who don't even make a roster on the other, then most players aren't in the middle. In fact, they're not even close. Most second-round picks fall way down here, somewhere in between what Basketball Reference would classify as an end-of-the-bench player and out of the league. When considering how to use a second-round pick, the idea of drafting a guy who ends up being a real contributing player, a starter, or even a future MVP, the perceived opportunity cost can tend to outweigh the actual value of the pick. Drafting a player of this caliber in the second round is like finding a diamond in the rough. But giving away a pick or a potential player that ends up being of this caliber would be a mistake that no front office wants to live with. But that doesn't change the fact that the vast majority of the time, these second-round picks in the NBA
Jalen
draft...
Brunson, Nikola Jokic, Chris Middleton coming out in the late second round, that's very rare for them to be that good on the second round. Most of the times, GMs and people that draft, they know what they're doing most of the times. Now, if you pass them, nobody knew Nikola Jokic was going to be that good. Nobody. You can't see the future.
Go on to be these end-of-the-bench level players. Just out of curiosity, does anyone know who the last few 55th overall picks in the draft were and how their careers are turning out? Last year's 55th overall pick has played 1 game in the NBA. The one before that has played 23 games in 2 seasons. The 55th pick in 2021, Aaron Wiggins, is actually having himself a solid career so far. But the one before him is out of the league. The one before that one is also out of the league. He's also out of the league.
Virginia's Kyle Guy was a
that
bucket.
one
What y'all know about Kyle Guy, man? He's out of the league, bro. What?
Also out of the league. He's also out of the league, out of the league, out of the league, was never in the league, out of the league, and out of the league. As a late second rounder, if Bronny can contribute on any level in the NBA,
James, though.
He has already exceeded his draft value. And that's really the proposition in all of this. It would be incredible if Bronny developed into a Davion Mitchell or Aaron Holiday caliber player.
And this is where I see him going. I see more like KCP, Davion Mitchell, Aaron Holiday. He'll never be a star. He won't be LeBron James. But I think because his last name is James, I think he's getting more, obviously, he's getting more attention and scrutiny because of the last name James. Now, is he good enough to play in the NBA? Right now, I'll let him finish.
Is if Bronny can provide any net positive value to his team, then selecting him in the draft will have been a great
He's bringing
pick.
money, bro.
There has never been a player
money,
projected to go this late in the draft with any expectations on what they should or will do in the league. These late draft picks have historically been reserved for players who might have been overlooked, players who maybe underperformed their potential at the collegiate level, players who organizations are willing to roll the dice on because there's virtually no opportunity cost associated with late second round picks. It's all upside at this point in the draft. If they don't work out, well, that's typical. If they do work out, well, then they've beaten the odds. And the very large point being overlooked in all of this talk about potential and value to the team and X's and O's, LeBron James has the opportunity to play basketball with his kid in the NBA. Let's just be honest. This is blatant nepotism, a classic case of it's who you know, not what you know. But nepotism has ran rampant in the NBA for decades, and no one cared. Countless players, coaches, executives, owners who got their shot with far less merit.
I've seen a lot of guys, Melo on his podcast, talk about there's a lot of NBA players that shouldn't be in the league. There's a lot of players that are not in the league that should be because of stuff like this. But because Bronny has the last name James, it's everywhere.
Than Bronny has. But now here we are sitting around talking about the integrity of a man who's played 21 seasons in the league and his son because they made the most of an otherwise paltry 55th pick in the draft, and the nepotism leaned in their favor this time around. We can criticize this decision all we want, preach about how this move was a breach of ethics, a slap in the face of the game we love, but then we would all be hypocrites. Because there isn't a man on earth who would pass up on the chance to play in the NBA with his son, even if it meant pulling a few strings to make it happen. As much as Bronny benefits from sharing the same last name as arguably the best basketball player of all time, that tag has also came with equal scrutiny.
Yep.
We have never seen a late second-round pick get discussed and limelighted like we've seen with Bronny. But we've also never seen a late second-round flyer get completely dissected and criticized like this. LeBron and Bronny have a chance to do something that has never been...
Look at that. Look at that. He's playing with this guy now. Watch this. Watch this again. Watch this clip again.
And criticized like this.
Where he passes the ball.
LeBron and Bronny have a chance to do something
He's playing with this kid now in the greatest basketball league on the planet. That's insane to me.
Has never been done in the history of the NBA. And that is worth more than any late second round pick will ever be.
I agree. Listen, I'll say it like this. Because as of right now, I don't think Bronny's good enough to be in the NBA. As of right now. Not be in the NBA and get like good minutes. But I think because his dad is LeBron, people look at it in a different way. I think because his dad is LeBron, he can teach him a lot about the game. Teach him how to LeBron has one of the highest IQs in the game of all time. He can definitely teach Bronny. Now that Bronny is with NBA players on a daily basis, with one of the greatest on a daily basis in practices, he'll soak it all in. I don't think Bronny will be out of the league out of nowhere when Bron retires. I think he'll end up being an okay role player. Davion Mitchell, he's in the league. He's about the same size, weight as Davion Mitchell. Maybe way a little less. But I think Bronny will be fine. Now, all the people hating on Bronny and LeBron getting in the league, if your dad was a billionaire and invited you to invited you to help him with his business, you'd want to be a billionaire too. You got grown men in their 40s and 50s. Oh, Bronny, no, there's no way Bronny's in the league. Shut up. You're mad because you weren't in the league. And now he gets... Listen, let them be them. Can we enjoy this history instead of hating on all the time? I'm tired of grown dudes hating on people like weirdos. Anyways. So, Jimmy, great video. This is obviously nepotism, but I think it will work out fine. Obviously, they're going to make a lot of money off this. A lot of money. They're already making money off preseason games. Wait till the season starts. But I can't believe this is actually happening. I remember years ago when he said, I want to play with Bronny. I thought he was nuts, and he just somebody said, but he freaking did it. And that adds to his legacy. I don't care what you say. Him playing with his son adds to his legacy. It speaks to his longevity. Anyway, that's all I got for you, man. Let me know what else you want me to react to. All that stuff. Stay blessed.